I left Korea in 2005 to learn English and French. I remember that right before I left, almost half of my class, which was about 20 people in Korea, already had the experience of studying abroad. I think there was even a term called goose father to describe the social phenomenon, where the goose father refers to men who are left in Korea because the rest of the family was abroad for education.
Okay, I see. So it's been almost 15 years since you left Korea. Do you see yourself as still being Korean or American, perhaps? Or how do you identify yourself? And could you describe yourself in 3 words?
If I had to describe myself in 3 words, I would say female, Korean, global. I don't really see myself as Korean nor American. I think I'm one of those young diasporic subjects in the globalized world, also an expat with multicultural values and languages. I often tell people that I'm 1.5, where kind of Korean, but not entirely Korean, but not like really American either.
Right. Who do you usually get along with? So who are your friends on social media?
So when I left Korea at the age of 10, I lost contact with all my Korean friends for a long time. But thanks to social media, I am now connected with friends all over the world, including those from kindergarten. But I do have to admit that I feel most comfortable around friends who also studied abroad at an early age. Sometimes I feel more comfortable with them than my own family because we share similar social and cultural values.
I see. Do you think you are cosmopolitan? Do you think being cosmopolitan is an asset in Korea, or how was your experience being a cosmopolitan in Korea?
I think there are pros and cons to it. For example, cosmopolitan usually means that you speak different languages other than Korean, so employers might think that it's good in that context. On the other hand, sometimes I think it can be a disadvantage, especially for a woman. I was once asked by a Korean interviewer if I had taken drugs before because I lived abroad, saying that the interviewer's friend who lived in the States came back to Korea as a drug addict. It was also an issue that some traditional companies think that those who grew up in the Western culture don't really understand or accept the hierarchy and business culture in Korea, that they're not eligible to work in Korea. But I think for women, it's usually worse. I read a news article the other day about the tendency to think that women who have studied abroad are sexually promiscuous and that they're not really wanted in matchmaking companies because of that.
And is there a difference in the way you identify yourself depending on the society you live in? And how do you see yourself or identify in the Korean society or in the States or where you're living right now?
I think I feel most comfortable living in the States, but I am also aware that I am from a Korean family. And there are pros and cons to each place, and I do try to behave differently wherever I go. If I'm in Korea, I act a certain way, and then if I'm in the US, I'll act a different way. But I just want to be in a place where I can be myself.